In this video, I'm going to reveal 10 of my favorite wines that are selling for around $40 per bottle. Located in the southern Rhone region of France, only about 10 miles away from Châteauneuf-du-Pape, Gigondas is often overshadowed by that more famous AOC. And yet, there's some excellent wines coming out of Gigondas and at prices that are meaningfully lower than prices for Châteauneuf-du-Pape based wines that offer similar quality. This first top wine for $40 is an excellent example. This is a wine that comes from a producer named Domaine Saint-Damien, and it's from the excellent 2022 vintage. It's a single vineyard bottling that comes from old vines. It's a blend of Grenache and Mourvedre, and the Grenache vines were planted way back in the 1940s. This highly acclaimed wine matures in neutral oak foudres for about a year before it's bottled. This is wine that comes in at a whopping 15% alcohol by volume, but you wouldn't know it by tasting it, as it carries it extremely well and is definitely a very well-balanced wine. This wine features flavors and aromas of red and black fruit, floral notes, cedar, mixed spice, and garrigue. While I often enjoy Châteauneuf-du-Pape on the younger side and will typically pop at least one bottle after I receive it and then let the rest of them mature in my cellar, that is not the case with Gigondas, and certainly not the case with this wine in particular. This is definitely a wine that needs another 2 or 3 years in the cellar before it comes around a little bit, and is definitely going to be a very long-lived wine. I found this one selling for as little as $34 per bottle, so definitely shop around, and in the United States you could probably get it for the mid-30s, and in Europe you could undoubtedly get it for probably even $10 less than that. So certainly a compelling value at that price point. 2022 Bordeaux is shaping up to be an absolutely phenomenal vintage. In fact, I was in Bordeaux a couple months ago, and even extremely inexpensive wines were quite impressive and enjoyable. 2022 Bordeaux is rolling out onto store shelves now, so I highly recommend that you stock up on this tremendous vintage, and if there's any producers that you enjoy, that you add them to your collection. But one that caught my eye this past week was the 2022 Chateau Labegorce. Labegorce is a producer that's based in Margaux, and it was acquired around the 2009 time period or so. Labegorce has around 53 hectares of vines in the Margaux appellation. These vines are planted to 50% Cabernet Sauvignon, 45% Merlot, and the rest is a blend of Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot. As is common in Bordeaux, the new owners made substantial investments in all aspects of the winery, and those investments paid handsome dividends, and the quality at Labegorce has never been higher. Fortunately, the price point has not yet caught up to the quality increases. The 2022 vintage, for example, is a highly acclaimed wine, yet it sells for only around $40 per bottle. This is a wine that features flavors and aromas of black cherry, black currant, violet, graphite, and cedar. The body for this wine tends to be a little bit heavier than many of the wines in the Margaux appellation, but you'll be pleased to note that it's one you can enjoy on the younger side. The 2022 Labegorce matured in 40% new French oak. This is not the most complex wine, but it's definitely one that's showing well young, and you can definitely feel free to enjoy it anytime over the next 7 or 8 years. 2021 is shaping up to be a tremendous vintage for both Barolo and Barbaresco. I got the chance to get a sneak preview of many of these wines a couple months ago, and I was extremely impressed. So the next top wine for $40 a bottle is the Giuseppe Cortese Barbaresco. Barbaresco definitely tends to get overshadowed a little bit by Barolo, but one of my very favorite MGAs from Barbaresco is Rabaja. Unfortunately, many of the single vineyard Rabaja wines can be extremely expensive, particularly so from strong vintages like 2021. Fortunately, however, the Giuseppe Cortese Barbaresco sells for only around $40 per bottle in the United States. Giuseppe Cortese is a family-owned producer that traces its history back to the early 1970s. It's one of the largest landowners in the Rabaja MGA. Their top wine is the Rabaja bottling, but this Giuseppe Cortese Barbaresco also comes from fruit from Rabaja. It just comes from the fruit that doesn't make the final cut to be included in their top wine. So it still offers excellent quality and some of that Rabaja power and balance that I really appreciate. Giuseppe Cortese is very much a classic producer, so this wine matures for around 18 months or so in large, neutral Slavonian oak casks. This wine features flavors and aromas of cherries, raspberries, licorice, blood orange, and herbs. Comes in at around 14.5% alcohol by volume. It has ample acidity, and the tannins are still a little bit grippy, but will mellow with some additional bottle age. Of course, in addition to this Barbaresco, you should absolutely also consider paying up a little bit for the Rabaja bottling, particularly those of you in Europe who may be able to get that one for closer to the $40 to $50 price point. After those first three red wines, it's definitely time for a palate cleanser. So the next top wine for $40 a bottle is a delicious, refreshing Riesling that comes from Alsace, France. Alsace continues to be one of the most underrated wine regions for collectible wines. There's numerous high-end wines that offer compelling value for the price points. So the next top wine for $40 a bottle is the 2022 Domaine Weinbach Cuvee Theo Riesling. This is a wine that's worth considering year in and year out, as they do an excellent job with it pretty much every year. This is a wine that comes from biodynamically grown fruit from a vineyard very close to the Domaine Weinbach estate. Even though they make this wine with an eye towards enjoying it early, it's definitely one that's capable of aging as well, and it has impressive intensity and concentration. Flavors and aromas include stone fruit, lemon, mandarin, and almond. A simply delicious wine with racy acidity and a long finish. I should also mention that it's bone dry, so no residual sugar in this wine. It's located in northwest Spain in the Galicia region. Valdeorras produces some of my very favorite white wines from Spain. Notably, however, it also produces some intriguing red wines, such as the next top wine for $40 a bottle. This wine comes from one of the oldest and most historic vineyards in Valdeorras. This is a north-facing vineyard, and so the fruit ripens very late in the year over an extended growing season. The result is an extremely intriguing, ethereal, mineral-driven wine that has some lift to it and some intriguing floral notes, but also some surprising power and concentration. So the next top wine for $40 a bottle is the 2022 Bodegas Avancia Old Vines Mencia, which I found selling for around $39 per bottle. This wine is 100% Mencia. They mature this wine for 8 months in French oak. Interestingly, they also use a percentage of carbonic maceration and stem inclusion, which helps to add a little bit of lift to the wine and also makes the wine a bit more approachable right on release. This wine has a medium body and a darker fruit profile, along with flavors and aromas that include graphite, leather, mixed herbs, and pepper. This is an extremely well-balanced wine with fine grained tannins and ample acidity. It's one you can enjoy immediately, and it's a perfect choice for a red wine for summer. The next top wine for $40 a bottle is another wine that's a little bit off the beaten path. This is another medium-bodied red, but this time we're on the northern slope of Mount Etna in Sicily. Specifically, this vineyard is around 600 meters above sea level. The Calderara Sottana vineyard is owned by an outstanding producer named Tenuta delle Terre. They make an absolutely fantastic wine from that vineyard that's well worth considering, but is beyond the price point for this video. Fortunately, however, there's a 3-hectare subplot for this vineyard that's referred to as Bellacolonna. This particular subplot has some rocky volcanic soils and is planted to younger vines. These younger vines nevertheless produced an extremely highly acclaimed wine that's the next top wine for $40 per bottle, namely the 2022 Tenuta delle Terre Etna Rosso Anniversario, Calderara Sottano, Bellacolonna. This wine is 100% Nerello Mescalese. They matured it in a variety of vessels, including French barriques, tonneaux, and casks, only 10% of which were new. This is important because it's extremely easy for the delicate Nerello Mescalese to become overpowered by new oak. This is an impressive mineral-driven wine with descriptors that include red fruit, blood orange, and floral notes. I should caution you, however, when you open this bottle, it's important to be extremely patient as it requires lots of air to show its best. So either make sure that you have an extended period of time in which to enjoy it, or give it a healthy decant before you start to dig in. Recently, I've had some viewers ask me about wines that make excellent food pairings. So this next top wine for $40 per bottle is one of the most versatile wines to pair with food that I know. This is a wine that has low alcohol by volume and high acidity. It also has a little bit of residual sugar that makes it a good companion for even spicy cuisine like Thai, Indian, or Mexican. It also goes incredibly well with delicate foods like sushi and sashimi. So the next top wine for $40 a bottle is the 2023 Zilliken Saarburger Rausch Cabinet Riesling. This wine features 8% alcohol by volume and it has around 50 grams of residual sugar. So there is a little bit of residual sugar, but it is balanced by abundant acidity as well. This is a wine that received significant critical acclaim, and it features flavors and aromas of peach, lemon, tea, and spice with impressive intensity and a long finish. Next up is a special wine that's produced only in great vintages from this outstanding winery's oldest vineyards. These old vineyards are planted on hillsides and high elevation sites that have poor soils and better drainage. This results in extremely high quality fruit, but also extremely low yields. Based in Rioja, Spain, Bodegas Muga is a family-owned, quality-minded producer that embraces traditional winemaking principles, but also uses modern technology to make their outstanding wines. So the next top wine for $40 a bottle is the Bodegas Muga Selección Especial Rioja Reserva. This is an impressive wine whenever it's made, so you really can't go wrong buying any of these bottlings. 2019, however, was a truly special vintage for Rioja, and arguably one of the best vintages in the last 20 or 25 years. So definitely make it a point to pick up some of the 2019 vintage if you can locate it. But if not, they also made an excellent example in the 2020 vintage. This wine is always a Tempranillo dominant blend. Recently, it's included about 70% Tempranillo, as well as some Garnacha, Graciano, and Mizuelo. You can expect flavors and aromas that include cherry, blackberry, licorice, balsamic, and mixed herbs and spice. There's a long, dry, complex finish. This is definitely a wine that will benefit from a couple years of additional bottle age, and it's an extremely age-worthy wine. So definitely do yourself a favor and put this away in your cellar and resist the urge to try it too soon. You'll be handsomely rewarded if you have the patience. If you're interested in wine recommendations, wine collecting strategies, and learning more about wine, please do subscribe to my channel. I've been collecting wine for more than 15 years and also have a level 4 diploma from the WSET. So I have both formal certification as well as substantial practical knowledge from the School of Hard Knocks. This next wine is a wine that I've been buying for my own collection for several years now, and it offers extraordinary value. This is a wine that comes from a fifth-generation winemaker who started his own estate back in 2012. To produce his first wine, he purchased a small 2-hectare plot in a prestigious vineyard called Les Michelins. This is a vineyard that was planted way back in 1903. Immediately after acquiring this prestigious parcel, Johann Lardy immediately converted it to organic practices, shunning herbicides in favor of a plow and relying on natural biodiversity instead of chemical insecticides. The Johann Lardy Moulin-a-Vent Vieille Vigne de 1903 sells for as little as €23 if you're able to buy it direct from the producer on its website. In the United States, you'll pay around $35 per bottle. This is a well-balanced wine with impressive purity of fruit. While it's a Gamay, it's a powerful, structured Gamay that benefits from some additional time in the bottle. I found that it shows its best between 5 and 10 years after the vintage, and it will certainly age for 15 with no problem whatsoever. I like to buy it in quantity so I can let some age for an extended period of time before I try them. This is a mineral-driven wine with black fruit and lots of spice. It's got a long, complex finish. This wine matures in Burgundy barrels for around 10 months, and they ferment with natural yeast, and there's no sulfites added. Willamette Valley is a fantastic source for the production of world-class Pinot Noir. Domaine Drouhin is one of the benchmark producers in Willamette Valley. Drouhin was one of the very first Burgundy producers to invest in Willamette Valley, and since that time, many producers from Burgundy have followed suit. The next top wine for $40 a bottle is the 2023 Domaine Drouhin Rose Rock Pinot Noir. This is a wine that's highly acclaimed pretty much year in and year out. The Rose Rock Pinot Noir features flavors and aromas of cherry, raspberry, blueberry, and mixed spice with ample acidity and fine-grained tannins. This is a wine that's elegant and refined. It's enjoyable on release, but certainly capable of aging for a few years as well. They make almost 15,000 cases of this wine, so it should be pretty easy to track down. And if you're thinking of visiting Willamette Valley, Domaine Drouhin is certainly an excellent choice for a winery visit as well. They're located high up in the Dundee Hills and have stunning views of Willamette Valley, and they also give you an opportunity to taste both their French and Willamette Valley wines, both white and red. And I found that it's extremely interesting to taste those wines side by side and compare them. If you'd like to learn more about Willamette Valley and some of the top producers in Willamette Valley, please be sure to check out this video that's linked above.